the power of purpose can pull you like gravity, but ideas are fleeting. Yes, I talk about ideas. I try not to talk about people too much. I try to talk about ideas mostly. But without purpose, like ideas, and that's why so many businesses fail, because someone has a great idea. Purpose-driven businesses, brands, enterprises they have staying power. You know what I mean? Like it's like jiu-jitsu, man. It's going to take 10 years to do anything great.
Pete, man, it's really good to see you. Typically, we would do these things, in the backwoods of Maine, but circumstances have changed a little bit, so we're going to have to do this remotely.
I'm still in the backwoods of Maine.
You are. Fair enough. But let's set the record straight. I don't think you're ever leaving, though, either. If I had to guess,
I don't know, man. I'm starting to feel 45, and the weather is starting to catch up to me. So I'm not as much of a snow sport enthusiast anymore. So Amanda and I, with both kids in college now, and empty nesters, we're thinking about heading south for the winter. We'll see.
Oh, how far south? Are we talking like Florida south, or what are we talking here?
At least North Carolina, right? Because we have our big plant,
right.
Our big plant in Asheboro, and then we have a home down there. So we'll probably spend a bunch of time there, and then probably some Florida, maybe some other locations. She loves the Amalfi Coast in Italy, so we love Europe. We love the old world, so maybe spend some time there.
So we're thinking about maybe international moving a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I think so. Go see the world, man.
Awesome.
It's time.
Awesome. It's pretty amazing to see what you guys have created. I think I was thinking about it this morning because I knew we were going to jump on this call. I want to say, I could be a little off on the numbers, but I think we probably first started talking about 6 or 7 years ago. I think we talked a couple of years when I was in Utah, and then I lived in Maine for 4 years. Man, it might have even been a little bit more than that, actually.
At least
But
2017, right? At least 2017, which was
at least
8 years ago.
Yeah, 8 years. And it is crazy to see what you guys with Origin have done over that time frame. Do you feel like you're further than you thought you would be when you launched this thing? Did you feel like you're about where you are, underperforming? Like, where do you feel like you are in that time frame?
I never really thought about it. We never really talked about like revenue or we want to build a company this size or this fast. It was always just talking about ideas. And I think that the growth has been a byproduct of those conversations about ideas. And of course, the power of purpose. I think when you think about like purpose, everyone has ideas, and sometimes you got to push ideas along. And of course, with the power of purpose, I think the power of purpose is more gravitational, and it like pulls you. And I think the ideas are lag, and the power of purpose is like lead. So you're leading with purpose, and the ideas are, sometimes you got to push. And we always just talked about ideas and purpose, and the growth has been a byproduct of that. Now, I don't know if I've told you this before, but I was telling Brian Littlefield, our friend and my business partner, I don't know, maybe 2019 or 20. I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to be able to run a company like beyond $5 million. This could have been, I think, 2018, really? Maybe 2018. I'm like, I think when we hit $5 million in revenue, I'm going to probably be tapped out, because I'm like a creative guy. I'm not big on organization and systems and processes, and I know how important they are. And I'm like, I'll probably have to like hand this baton off at $5 million. And it's like, we are way beyond that at this point, and still,
I'm sure you are
still driving hard. We don't really have a goal. We've never set goals of we need to want to hit this number. We've got by this point. It's just, hey, we're going to do for the right things for the right reasons, and and in the end, I think we'll grow.
Well, and as a private company, you have the ability to do that. You're not beholden to shareholders or anything like that. So if you think, you've got business partners, Brian, Jocko, other people that, we may not know, but you're not beholden to anybody but your guys' team and your vision. And I think that's one thing you're actually really good at. I was going to ask you before you even said that, is it frustrating for you at times? Because I know you personally, I know you're an idea and dream guy. Is it frustrating when the purpose outpaces the practicality of running an organization like yours?
Yes. I would say this past year has been the most frustrating for me. And you know me, Ryan, I'm like I'll share anything and everything. I'm really just a transparent individual. I don't think there's enough information out there about the struggles of driving an enterprise. This is the first year in my life I've worked. This past year, I've always just felt like I get to do what I want to do every day, and it's my passion. And this past year, these past 12 months have been just straight work, bro. Like, my job consists of talking with lawyers, bankers, and human resources. Those are the three things I do on a daily basis: lawyers, bankers, and human resources. And I don't get to do what I'm really great at, which is building the brand, telling the story like I am on your podcast right now, like telling the story, designing, being creative. I don't get to do that anymore. And so it's been a really challenging year for me as I've had to adjust into this role as a CEO. And I don't think I'll be able to sustain it for a long period of time for two brands, of course, because I'm the founder and CEO of Origin, and technically I'm the founder and CEO of Jocko Fuel also. And so on a daily basis, I'm going right brain, left brain for one brand. And 5 minutes later, I got to go right brain, left brain for the other brand. And it's okay when I'm using my creative side. I can just jump between the two. It fits my ADHD personality really well. But right. when it's more about like systems and processes, and we brought in operators into both companies, we have all these business units built out. I'm just not the smartest one in the room. I never intended to be. But I think sometimes what I feel is that because I'm kind of this cowboy entrepreneur, I'm at times not taken too seriously. And so I've really focused on changing the way I lead, which is I'm just leading through vision and executive initiatives. And then I kind of let the team build around those initiatives, executive strategies, strategic initiatives, and then long-term strategic vision. And how are we going to get there? Please go put a plan together for me holistically. And so that's where I'm at. I think
we're a lot alike in that. You're saying these words and I'm like, my brain's already like shut down. I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
It is interesting, and I haven't told you this, but we, obviously we have mutual friends, and every once in a while I'll reach out, or somebody will reach out to me, and they're like, "How's Pete doing?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't talk to the guy anymore." If I shoot you a message, I'm like, "Pete, just point me where I need to go," because I know how consumed you are with everything. So you said something interesting. You said you're not taken too seriously. Would you say that by your executive team or the industry, or what do you mean by that?
No, I would say, and that's kind of a tongue-in-cheek way of saying that. Like I haven't, I didn't come from like a big organization, right? So I didn't come from a Fortune 500 company. I didn't come from a Nike or a Reebok or Under Armour or Adidas, or on the nutritional side from a Kellogg's or a Keurig Dr. Pepper. Like I didn't cut my teeth in corporate America. I haven't really cut my teeth yet. I think where we are and where we're going, I would say I still got baby teeth, man. I still got that baby skin. I still got to wear some of it off. And so sometimes I'll ask for things that seem impossible, or it's not the way you do it. Well, that's not the way it's done. This is how it's done. This is how it's done in, big business. And sometimes I need to step back and really check myself and say, okay, well, then let's do it that way. If that's the way it's done. And other times I'll lean into what I think should happen based off of the vision I have for the brands. And I'll try to drive a different behavior. And sometimes that behavior creates chaos. I would say that Jocko's kind of adjusted the same way. Like we've talked about it a little bit. We'll be on a call and he'll be like, well, why can't we just do this? And he's like, hey, listen, I know, like, I don't know when I say that, what effect that has on the team. I don't know what that has on finance and supply planning and logistics. Like, I don't know. So I'm just saying it because that's what I feel, but I don't know how it affects the team. So if you guys are telling me this is impossible, like, let me know. So, but I'm in it every day, right? So I'm in the trenches every day. And so sometimes for Jocko on a weekly call versus me on daily calls, I just find myself, especially over the past year, just like questioning, I guess, my abilities to drive the business. And what I have found out, Ryan, and this is the insight for you, is nobody knows.
I bet.
Nobody knows. There is no silver bullet. There is not one single person that actually knows exactly what to do. And it is the sum of the parts, like living into the vision, that actually makes it go. And it's a person driving behavior towards that vision and making micro adjustments along the way. So that's my job with HR. I try to drive behavior of micro adjustments to get the team. And I figured out that I got to have two hands on the wheels. I can't drive with one hand on the steering wheel. And so I've learned a lot, man. I've learned a lot this past year, and I'm in a better place now as we go into fourth quarter. But bro, it has been challenging. Most challenging year I've had since like early business.
It's interesting that you were talking about not coming from a Nike or an Under Armour or a Kellogg's or one of these big brands, but what's interesting to me is you're now hiring those people.
Yeah, we are.
So, you might not be quote unquote taken seriously, but there's something serious about, what it is that you guys are doing. And I think the biggest story here, at least for me and the way I see it, I know a lot of guys listening will see it too. I don't know if I've told you this, but a lot of times guys will be like, I just want a regular guy on the podcast. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, right.
And I understand the sentiment because they want to be able to relate more to whoever that guest might be. And somebody like Jocko, he's inspirational, motivational, but a lot of people might not be able to relate on a personal level to his life.
Sure.
And so I think what's so great about what you guys are doing is, with all due respect, you are a quote unquote regular guy. And by the way, so is Jocko. Sure. And so are these other people I've had on the podcast. They're just doing extraordinary things over long periods of time.
Yeah. I've learned a lot about that too, right? Like that's why I kind of started out with like the power of purpose can pull you like gravity, but ideas are fleeting. So yes, I talk about ideas. I try not to talk about people too much. I try to talk about ideas mostly. But without purpose, like ideas, and that's why so many businesses fail, because someone has a great idea, right? I mean, it's why you've been so successful, because you actually have purpose. It's a purpose-driven organization. You have a purpose-driven mindset. And so ideas die all the time. They die every day.
Well, some of them you do them and they're just like, that didn't work.
Yeah,
and
that's a bad
what
idea.
you would call a tuition payment.
Tuition payment, yeah. So I think purpose-driven businesses, brands, enterprises they have staying power. You know what I mean? Like it's like jiu-jitsu, man. It's going to take 10 years to do anything great. Like 10 years. And most people can't think beyond like next year or even next month or even next week. And it's like, man, I'm committing like 12, 15% of my life. I'm going to commit 15% of the time I'm alive to this thing. You got to have purpose in order to do that. So I think people don't understand that. That's how high the stakes are when you get into a business like that. And of course, on my side of things, it's two businesses, you know what I mean? There's two brands. And I just gotta stay with it. Not because like, oh, you gotta have that grit and tenacity,
muscle through everything.
Yeah, it really isn't that. It's not that pulls me through it. It's the power of purpose. Like I have a purpose on this earth, and I need to live into that. And even when I'm tired and I don't want to do it, it's still there. Like eating is there. I have to eat to live. Like working out is there. Like jujitsu, I need jujitsu for my sanity. Like those are all purpose-driven things. Like I got to survive. I got to be healthy, body, mind, and spirit. And if you can apply that to business, like there's a bigger purpose beyond making a pair of jeans or a pair of boots or, or a hydration beverage or something, then that has staying power.
Yeah, I think I feel that way too. There's days where I don't have to muscle through anything, but there's days where I'm like, this sucks, or, I don't want to do this, or, maybe I screw something up, or, who knows, lose, a couple $1,000 on a dumb decision for apparel or merchandise, or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like I had to muscle through anything.
Yeah.
And in fact, as I was going through the throes of some of the most difficult years of my life, which you're familiar with, there was a time where I even thought, man, I need to sell this business. And I didn't entertain that thought at any one point for more than about 3 to 5 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm not doing that, because it's so purpose driven, even in spite of everything that I may have been dealing with, a lot of it self-inflicted. This purpose doesn't change, and this is what's going to propel us forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's important, man. I think more businesses and more dreams would succeed. And if you think about, well, what was this American dream thing back in the day? Well, you've got to understand there was a universal power of purpose in the immigrants that came here, because they came for nothing. So the purpose was to build a life of meaning and send the funds back to support their families. When the Irish and the Greeks and the French and everybody else came over, like they're coming from places where there's an aristocracy, there's no middle ground, and then there's peasants. There was no opportunity for education if you didn't have name or title. So, so where are they coming from? They're coming from a place that they can't change their trajectory in life. They're unable to go beyond being a farmer. I think coming to America, they can be anything. They can be educated. They can learn trades. They can build wealth in a family here. And that purpose-driven mindset, it seems to have been lost. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's not here anymore. And I was actually writing a speech recently, and it was about like, well, origin feels different because nobody said it in a while, but I stole their purpose. I stole the purpose of the folks who came here originally through Ellis Island in New York City. They came for the American dream, and I'm like, oh, well, our purpose, our mission is to breathe life back into the dream. That's it. It's what they did. It just feels new because nobody's done it for so damn long. Nobody's built a factory in the woods in a while. So yeah, I think if more people understood, like before they start something, an enterprise, why am I doing this? Simon Sinek is really good with this. He has a book called Starts With Why, but like, why am I doing this? Why do I want to open a sub shop? What is the purpose behind opening this sub shop? Well, I want to make the greatest subs on the planet. I've always loved subs. I'm going to have the greatest meatball sub in the world. Like, I don't know. Like, I use subs because my papa, that was his dream, to have a sub shop. And that's what he did. He had sub shops in Massachusetts. So I'm just using it. And he did it for his whole life until he died. He had sub shops. It was his purpose, to give his family a better life. So
so you said it hasn't been done in so long, and I would agree. I mean, there's pockets of this, there's individuals, but collectively I would agree with that. So if people aren't pursuing purpose generally, what then are they pursuing? Is it just, hey, I need to make some money and put food on the table? Is it like, what exactly do you feel like has replaced? Because something has to replace it. So what has replaced that purpose?
Oh, distractions. I mean, I think we're the most distracted we've ever been in the history of the world. People are getting their fulfillment, dopamine from things that are meaningless. I mean, without factories in Maine, people get it from drugs and alcohol, but you also get it from social media, television. I mean, you can get it a lot of different places, and it feels good, right? To shopping. I mean, that's another way people get it, is purchasing cheap goods on Shein or Temu these days, right?
Porn.
So pornography. Sure. There's a lot of ways people get the feeling of purpose, but I think it's a false narrative. I don't think it's real. I know it's not real. And it's not sustainable, and it's why friendships, relationships, why things fall apart, because religion, a lot of times would provide that purpose for people. Church would provide that purpose for people. Jiu-jitsu does that. Jiu-jitsu does it. It's real. It's fulfilling. You're building community. Are you familiar with like Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So like that sense of community, you've got to have food, shelter, and water. And then the next thing is love and belonging and community. Right. And I think people don't really get beyond that third thing. Right. In this, I'm all about self-actualization. Like I want to self-actualize, I want to get to the top of the pyramid, and I don't let that pyramid drive my life by any means, but I think it's a good litmus test against what you're doing in your life. Are you stuck here? A lot of people like food and shelter, and then, they never get to community or love and belonging or anywhere above that. I think people get really comfortable in that mid-range. And that's fine as long as they're living a purposeful life. I good examples like Lenny Davis, right? Lenny Davis, who was the last guy in Maine that knew how to fix looms. And he was on that fixed our loom and brought it back to life and then passed his knowledge on. Yeah. And he died, right, recently, Ryan, a couple years ago. He had such a strong purpose to pass that knowledge on to the next generation, because it would have died with him, and nobody would know what they were doing when it comes to building and weaving and making fabric.
Oh. Yeah, and I've seen those machines. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here.
He was the last one. So I just think it's really important to figure out what that is for an individual. And I think once somebody can figure that out, then they're less apt to succumb to like vices of the sorts that we talked about, whatever that is. We all get caught up in looking at shit. I mean, I'll sit on like Instagram reels and I get caught up on that. And I'll
scroll.
I was actually last night, I was looking at one and then a reel popped up and it said, "You have reached the end of Instagram reels." It was
congratulations.
Congratulations. You've succeeded.
You know what it was when we were kids? You knew you were watching ESPN way too long when it started the whole cycle back over. Do you remember that?
Exactly. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's all okay, but I think not having purpose leads to like hopelessness, and I think hopelessness is like the worst feeling in the world. I think it's what's wrong with our nation right now is there's hopelessness, and then I think when you have hopelessness, then you also become powerless, and like those two are like the perfect storm: hopelessness and the feeling of being powerless. Nobody wants to be there, and that's when distractions are the best. And once you get into that cycle, you kind of never get out. So,
what's interesting is you were talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's been a while, admittedly, since I've seen that chart. But I think when it comes to food and security, shelter, finances, that sort of thing, which are the basic fundamentals, right? Mm-hmm. Is that people have a hard time getting out of it because what I've realized is they're not good stewards with the resources they have. So food, for example, and shelter. Let's say you create a position of financial prosperity where, the food's taken care of. You never have to worry about a mortgage payment. And I've been there, I have. Mm-hmm. And then what people do is instead of graduating to that next tier of in the hierarchy, they make bad decisions that are antithetical to what got them the abundance in the first place. So they become gluttonous or greedy or overconsumptive, or they make bad purchases. And so they just habitually stay stuck in the first level and then ask the question, why can I not get to the next level? You're making bad choices.
Human nature. Human nature,
it is.
Man.
It's like, I used to see this thing where I would have, I don't know if I told you, but I worked with a lot of dentists, primarily coming out of dental school when I was running my financial planning practice. Mm-hmm. And these kids, essentially, 19, 20, 22-year-old kids were used to living for anywhere from 4 to 8, in some cases 10 years, on roughly negative $30,000 to negative $50,000 a year. That was their life. Mm-hmm. And the minute they had income, they thought to themselves, I've arrived. And the ones who didn't do that, the ones who said, you know what, I'm going to live the same way, a little bit better. At least I'm not going to go into the negative every year, but I'm going to live about the same way I have been for 3 to 5 years are in a tremendous position of financial prosperity right now. Debt is paid off, buying practices, buying into other practices, growing their own, hiring associates. And the ones who said, I've arrived, are still in that debt cycle.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough cycle to get out of, right?
No doubt.
I haven't done things the traditional way. I joke around with, Joe Masi Antonio, my president at Jocko Fuel, about, hey, Joe, sometime just get ready because I'm going to come live in a teepee at your house. Just because it's like like capital, I don't look at it the right way. I never really have. Again, I like focus on ideas, and sometimes I'm just like go all in on those ideas, which, as I've gotten a little bit older now, I've started to recognize how to use and leverage capital. But like, I would have been one of those dentist kids, 100%. I would have been, like, right up until 40 years old, I would have been in the same situation. I think because like the education isn't out there. It wouldn't have been. I came from nothing. So like, I wouldn't have known what to do or how to do it or how to leverage. You see a couple dollars hit your account and you're like, good to go. Let's go do something,
I've been there too.
So
I've been there too.
Yeah. So, I mean, now it's different, years of tuition payments, you gain, a bit of wisdom, but man, for kids, it must be really hard these days.
Oh, when you're throwing multiple six figures at them I don't want to discount the work it's taken them to get there by any means, but
sure.
If they go from negative 50 a year and now they're at $250,000 out of school, yeah, time to buy the new car or
exactly.
the new house, or get a whole new wardrobe, whatever it is they do with the money. Yeah, that's a tough one. But I think one thing that you've done, and I imagine you have, is you can go out and buy a new vehicle, or you can go out and invest in new equipment or new resources, or hire somebody to help run a division of the company. I am curious about one thing, and I don't know if you remember this conversation. We're talking about ideas now, and you've got this new line, and you have new lines that pop up occasionally, but this has been a little bit different and a lot bigger, I think, than some of the other ideas that you've had, is this hunt line that you've got going on. And I don't know if you remember this conversation, but years ago, I had mentioned something about it, and you're like, I'll never get into hunting again. And I think you may have been jaded by some past marketing experience or something.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious about the switch, where that came from, and how you moved into this really disruptive process for U.S. made hunt gear.
I'm not saying it's a good idea. It was a good idea, first of all.
Time will tell.
We
Time
can
will
unpack
tell.
that. Yeah. Time will certainly tell. I think, when you introduced me to Kip Fulks, I think a while back, I think that's how I first met him, through you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kip, the reason I said I'd never get into hunting is because I spent the first 8 years after I dropped out of college building hunting brands. Like, I worked in the industry. We worked for a few different brands, and there's a lot of egos in hunting. There's a lot of egos, and when the recession hit and I had to shut my business down, my first business, right, in my mid-20s, hunting was one of those things that I was just disgusted by the industry, not the activity, not the lifestyle, but the industry of hunting. I was like, that is an industry I'm never going to go back into. Like, I never want to do anything with hunting again, because of my experience in the industry. Now, as you know, Ryan, my family, my wife's family, they're huge hunters. I'll get out in the woods once in a while, but I'm not planning week or 2 week long trips to go hunt elk. It's like, I'll, go sit and, and turkey hunt. I like duck hunt, or deer hunt once in a while with a family, but they're my whole family, and we live in the woods. They're avid hunters. I'm not focused on it. I'm focused on building these companies. And so every extra bit of time I have goes into work. Same reason I stopped competing in jiu-jitsu. So stopped hunting, stopped competing in jiu-jitsu, just to build these companies. But Kip, when he came on, he was like, I think we can do this in America. And I even told Kip, like, I used to work in the industry. There's like a lot of egos in the hunting industry. And part of the reason I didn't want to get back into it was all these folks back in the late 90s, early 2000s when I was in the industry. Right. And I was like, is it the same way? And he's
talking about these personalities. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, personalities. Like there's a lot of personalities, in the late 90s and early 2000s. And I worked with these guys who owned these companies. And I'm not going to mention the companies, but, they were just all really overly competitive, arrogant, competitive. It was just a strange time, And he's like, oh, there's still egos in hunting. He's like, but,
no
the power of purpose, right? Like our customer is purchasing hunting gear made in China. That doesn't make me feel good. You know what I mean? And like, we have the capabilities to bring something meaningful to market in hunting. Should we choose to invest in that? And so that's what we did. Now we've invested time and money and capacity into it. And it's something we provide, but like Origin isn't a pure play hunting brand. We build things. The things we make are built for the unknown. The things we make are built for the unknown. And part of that unknown is you need camouflage apparel, right? You need camouflage hunting gear. But it's not like, hey, we're a hunting brand. We're Origin. We build things for life. We build things in America. We build things that are going to hopefully, get you through whatever adventure you're going on in business life, or going after wild game. So, time will tell if it's a good idea or a bad idea. I'm not sure yet.
I mean, it's funny because a lot of people from the outside looking in, and I'm obviously not familiar with the financials by any means of what you guys are doing, but I imagine a lot of people will look in and see how much you're selling, or see what kind of revenue you're doing, or see how much product you're moving, or see your presence on social media and automatically equate that to success. But what they overlook is cost of machinery, cost of materials, cost of bringing new people on, cost of consulting, cost of making dumb decisions. So just because a company looks on the outside like it's doing well, that doesn't paint the entire story. And it takes actually a lot of time to build something into a very profitable product or movement.
I think what people don't understand and need to understand is like our enterprise this year. So Origin and Jocko Fuel. And the reason I put those together is because Origin, Origin started Jocko Fuel, right? It was Origin Labs before Jocko Fuel. We had the nutritional line, and then we started the Jocko brand. So it's like Origin is the kind of the company that sits above, that owns the majority of Jocko Fuel. So when I talk about the enterprise, I'm talking about the two brands within the enterprise holistically. So never did I think I was going to have a $30, $40 million line of credit. Okay. I mean, I'm tapped into that thing like heavily, man, like heavily tapped into that thing. Our revenues will finish the year probably over 200, right? And next year we'll push to 350. So like, that's a lot of zeros. It's a lot of zeros, but regardless if you're doing $3 million a year or $300 million a year, like things are as they seem. It costs money to build scale. It costs money to hire good people, to go eat market share, to protect your market share, to develop new products. I mean, product development, to develop new textiles and product and fabrics, to develop, new nutritional products, and the team's got to scale, and then you've got to add more people. Better people aren't less expensive. Better people are more expensive. Like it doesn't like just get easier. More, you ever heard like more money, more problems? Like more money, more problems.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it's more zeros, but and you have more business units, and sometimes those business units want to work in an echo chamber, and you've got to kind of keep them together, and it's hard. And so you need You need good leadership, and then you have multiple locations, and then you start spreading your costs across those multiple locations. And then you need to make logistical changes because your warehouses aren't close enough to your primary customer base. And it's just expensive, dude. Like we're spending we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year. It's crazy. And sometimes it's hard to get the margin to the bottom line you want because a growth company, it has one source of fuel, the monster. It eats one thing. It eats cash. If you're a growth company. Now, if we wanted to run the businesses flat, like if I was like, hey, listen, we're not going to grow from 24 to 25. We're going to run both businesses completely flat. And I want you to go optimize our supply chains. I want you to go get COGS, cost of goods down. I want to get real efficient on our manufacturing lines. And I want 15% to the bottom line. I want to make $30 million or $45 million on 300. Could we get there? Yes. But guess what? We're not. We're going to spend that $45 million to scale. So it's just, it's like, what are you trying to do and why are you trying to do it? And I have had to look at this. I talked to you like the last 12 months have been really hard. I've had to look at this really, really up close and personal the last few months. And what I've decided and what I put out to the team is on the origin side is we're only going to grow a little bit next year, a little bit, like less than 20%. I don't want 100% CAGR. I don't want a compounding annual growth rate bigger than 20%. Why? Because I want to make North Carolina the best pants factory in the world. I want to make it the best jeans factory. I want to invest in that. I want to get really efficient. I want to make a jean for less than $100. I can't do that. Sell a jean for less than $100. I want to find supply chains. I want to purchase cotton direct. Like there's things that we can do on our supply side and then efficiency side. And I want to give the customer only what they need next year. And I want 10% to the bottom line minimum. So I want 10% minimum to the bottom line next year. So that's like, hey, little bit of growth in the right categories for the right reasons and efficiencies. And it's okay. We're not a public company. The only one we answer to is the ownership group. We answer to me, Jocko, Dedeco.
And the market a little bit too, right?
Yeah,
I mean, not shareholders, but the market's going to determine, hey, that's how I view it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I view it and think, okay, the market's going to tell me whether this is good or not.
For sure. Yeah, the market will tell you, for sure. And on the Jocko Fuel side, it's a complete opposite. Hey, go give me 80% growth rate, right? Yeah. With still like a bottom line number, EBITDA, number. So, and man, it's just, yes, the companies are huge. It's a huge enterprise. Like at this point, I mean, I think it's worth like $1 billion, like on paper, you know what I mean? Like right. I live in the woods of Maine, bro. Like on paper.
People will think that. They're like, if he sold his business, he'd get $1 billion. You wish.
Yeah.
You wish.
Yeah. We could probably.
Because he would have sold it by now.
Yeah, we could probably come pretty close. But like that's not the plan, especially for Origin. That's not the plan. It's a 100-year plan. We're 10% into that. We're 10 years in. So it's a 100-year plan. It's a plan that'll transcend me. It's a vision for the future that we're going to keep this thing private. It's never going to go public. And so we've got to do the right things for the right reasons. And on Jocko Fuel, it's obviously a little bit different. We want to get the product within arm's reach of every household in America. And at some point, the plan is we either merge with a bigger company that can do that distribution to 100,000 locations, and you make that arrangement with one of these big companies, and the byproduct of that is a lot of money, right? So it's perfect because a lot of money will allow Origin to never have to sell its soul.
Right.
That is the play. It's been the play since day one. Since Jocko and I shook hands in Portland, Maine over a steak and a handshake, that was the plan. And And that plan is going to come to fruition here at some point. So, again, what was the purpose? Power of purpose. Why do you do what you do? And that's really what a brand is, right? That's the soul. That's brand. Marketing and advertising and media. That's all like ways to tell people about the brand. And
right.
So, yeah. Anyways, I kind of rambled there.
No, it's good. So with regards to Jocko Fuels, having a Walmart deal will certainly get you closer to getting that product in the hands of every American.
You got it. You got it. So Jocko Fuel's interesting because we just closed Walmart, right? And we just went into Walmart stores in August, and it's awesome. We're in Walmart. I got to go check it out, by the way. I got to record a little video. I haven't even been in to see, but
so do I. I need to go see if it's here
in your local one. Yeah. Yeah. And it's two different purchase intents, right? So I'm drinking a Jocko Hydrate right now. I drink 4 a day. It's like a commodity. It's a consumable. I'm going to drink it every day, all day. And so my purchase intent is that I intend to purchase this to consume every day. On Origin, the purchase intent is different. I'm going to invest in this and I'm going to try to wear it for the next 5 years, right? It's two totally different mindsets. And
that's get the mileage out of it.
Oh man, it's really difficult because you're talking to two different two different mindsets. I didn't think about that. Two different purchase intents.
But everybody has both, right? I mean, and that's the beauty is one physical person is actually both customers.
It is, but Ryan, if you think about when Origin had Jocko Fuel on our website, so you'd go to Origin, then you could buy Jocko Fuel. Only 5% of people purchased a clothing item and a nutritional product. Why? Because people came to the website and they intended to purchase a 30-day supply or something, or they intended to purchase an investment in boots or jeans or hoodies or jackets or whatever. So it is the same customer mostly, except Jocko Fuel, 30% of our customer base is women, and on Origin, 99% of our customer base is men. So it's the same mindset. It's the same mindset for sure. I'm not sure it's the same customer all the time, but it's the same mindset.
I mean, that makes sense. It seems like, just based on what you're saying, if somebody came to buy boots, that new mock toe boot you have, for example, it seems amazing. Like maybe based on, it is amazing. I love those boots. Admittedly, I don't have them on right now. I'm barefoot right now.
I'm barefoot too.
But if I weren't, that's what I'd have on.
Yeah, I just took mine off, actually. That's what I was wearing this morning, but I'm barefoot right
now. It seems like, based on what you're saying, customer intent, that it would be easier to sell that individual who came for a pair of boots, a pair of jeans, and the person who came for the hydrate to sell them, maybe some pre-workout or something like that, because of the way they're looking at their purchasing in that moment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's...
when you talk about this 100-year plan, you're talking about something that obviously is going to transcend your life, and it's not just your life. It's going to transcend your kids' lives, your grandkids' lives. Why is that important to you?
Oh,
because I think, let me say it this way, maybe preface this.
Yeah.
Do you think that if you didn't spread this plan out over this 100-year plan, and you said, you know what, I'm worried about the next 30 or 40 or whatever it is, do you think you could maximize or leverage income and revenue if it was this type of plan versus spreading it out over 100 years? Meaning, personally, could you have more today than if you spread it out over 100 years, which then becomes your legacy?
I don't know. I had to set such a long-term plan that it drove a certain behavior of myself. I had to set a plan in motion that I knew I would be in the ground by the time it comes to fruition in order to make the right decisions now. If I said hey, we're going to run this thing over 25 years, it would have driven a different behavior. I would have a different behavior, actually.
Of course.
I would take on private equity. I would be selling off chunks of the company. I would keep operational control for sure, but it would be a whole different thing. And the reason I only set it to 100 years is because it seems crazy to people. And when I tell people well, China's got 1,000-year plan. And I've only got dynasties. I've got 100-year plan. help course correct this thing. Then it's like, oh, it's not so crazy. But like, we're not chasing any other brands. Like, we're not chasing anybody else. We're not chasing Under Armour or Lululemon or any other company. It's not that at all. I actually don't care what they do. I don't freaking care. I don't care what they're doing. They're publicly traded companies. They make decisions based off the market and making sure they show growth to drive shareholder value. They're public companies. Fine. We're not. And so we're not even swimming in the same damn ocean. Like, everybody has to have great product. That's a par for the course, right? These days, in this day and age, everybody's got to have great product. But why we do what we do, built by freedom, like, that's not just made in America. That's built by freedom. Like, every component, every piece of thread and labor is on American soil. It's because that is an insane mission. And it's going to take a few decades just to get people back there. It took 3 decades for it all to leave. It's going to take a couple, 2 or 3 decades to get it all back. And Origin can be the pioneers of that renaissance. I think that's what we're about. We could make anything. You could put the Origin logo on anything and say built by freedom. And people will be like, I trust that. That's cool. This company's cool because they're doing the right things for the right reasons. It doesn't even have to be clothing or footwear. It could be anything. So I think when you understand that wave of freedom, that logo, it's the wave of freedom, reshoring, restoring, reclaiming machineries, knowledge, and communities. Like, that's powerful. I think it's the strongest brand that's ever existed, in my opinion, outside of maybe the American flag, which America is the strongest brand. I think Rome probably, was at one point the strongest brand, but I think America is the strongest brand in the world. And I think that wave of freedom represents what America once was. And so that's why I think when it comes to product, that's the strongest brand that's ever existed. And even Kip, who was the co-founder of Under Armour, said to me one time that he believes Origin is the greatest American brand that's ever existed. And that's from a dude that built a freaking $5 billion company, right? Nobody's following us where we're going. It's not doable. I know this. I know it's not doable. What I want to do, I know it's not doable right now. I know it's not doable right now. I don't live in the now. And I think that actually leads to some of the problems that we were discussing earlier in the conversation. I don't live in the now. I live in projecting the vision and then making decisions to make sure that vision is realized. And that's not a dream. That's action on ideas. It's action on ideas, pulling with purpose. So that's a mouthful, but
yeah. Well, it's interesting when people look at it from a brand perspective. It's easy to see how, and we've seen it. We've seen the demise of brands. Something that immediately comes to mind is when they don't stay current and relevant and up to date. Consider, Blockbuster, for example, that could have bought, I think, Redbox or Netflix early on and chose not to out of arrogance or ignorance, maybe. So we can see how a brand like that will go away. But one thing that's interesting is I don't think we see it the same way with America. You talked about America being the greatest brand, but if you look at even just servicing the debt, I think I heard, and don't quote me on the numbers, but this will prove the point, that the interest on a debt that we're paying as Americans just surpassed $1 trillion. It's the third highest line item in our budget behind, I don't know if it's defense, but I definitely know it's Social Security and Medicare. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is, but Americans refuse to see that is, using your language, going to threaten the brand, if you want to say it that way. But we see it in business, but we don't see it in America the same way. And that's a little scary to me. That's a lot scary to me, actually.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole that's Pandora's box.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how much we want to jump into that, but
I don't know how much time we have to discuss it, but
it's our peers making decisions. I mean, Gen Xers are about to inherit the earth. So it's our peers making decisions. I'm trying to have a voice and, make some relevant noise from the outside and trying to influence things through relationships and scale, you know, like you can have influence a couple of ways. You can kind of be at the top, or you can have the capital to drive true change, because companies drive America. Like American companies drive America. American companies drive the world. Like it's
greedy corporations.
It's greed.
No.
It's greed.
Can't
it's runaway capitalism. It's it's predatory capitalism is what it is. And I'm a capitalist.
Or crony capitalism.
Crony capitalism. You know, I mean, so, you know, we just got to get some good people in there that don't have ulterior motives. And you're never actually going to get people in there that have ulterior motives, but it's just everybody, all of our politicians go in with nothing and they all come out with so much.
Not interesting.
So much. But, you know, they're making trades and on policy and earmarks and all that other bullshit. So it's a scary place. And that's how you end up, you know, that much in debt, Gosh, I don't know what the answer is, man.
Well, I mean, I think you guys are part of the solution. You know, I don't think it's the only piece, but it's definitely part of it. And I see companies and these, you know, I'm really proud of the people people and organizations that we're partnered with. You know, you guys obviously, and good friends of both of ours, Sornex, exercise equipment, Montana Knife Company. Like these are companies that are doing the same thing in different markets.
Yep.
Are there other organizations now? Because I know when we talked 7-8 years ago, you're pioneering this stuff, and you still are, and you will continue to do so. Are there companies now that are getting some hope and popping up and saying, "Wait a second, they're doing something, so maybe we can"? Because I don't think that existed 8 years ago.
I think there's a few different things happening. You ever heard of this term greenwashing?
No.
It's like greenwashing is like, hey, we're going to build this environmentally sustainable thing. And then so you see this as in the marketing of the brands, right? You see like greenwashing, like we're going to do this wonderful thing for you. But what you don't see is that in China, in order to get it that way, you know, we're going to dump, you know, 1 million gallons of poison into the rivers and kill all the fish, right? So you see one side of it and you don't see the other side. And so I've changed the term greenwashing to greedwashing because it's absolute greedwashing. So I think to answer your question, I think that, you know, things aren't as they seem until there is a fully transparent, 100% transparent supply chain on where your products are made and who's making them and the total like carbon footprint and environmental impact they're having. Like I don't think anything is truthful. I think we're coming as close as we can as any company has come to that. Like I think we're talking about our challenges and how we're going to overcome them and try to reverse the damage. And I think other companies have recognized that, whether on their own or maybe through our story. I know some through our story are doing the same thing. But dude, there isn't anything that's 100% like good to go. You know, like, oh, this company's like good to go. Like if you make something, you're going to have waste. If you make anything, you're going to have waste. If you make a t-shirt or a pair of jeans, you're going to have waste. You're going to use energy. You know, you're going to use water. You're going to use you're going to use shit. I think that you'll never be able to use electric cars. Like, okay, cool, it's electric, but like the battery, like how do you make the battery? Where does that shit come from? Oh, you know, like somebody was like charging their electric car recently with a generator. I'm like, let's charge our electric car with a generator. So a gasoline engine charging an electric motor. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I think though it starts with the consumer. The consumer needs to demand things to change, and then companies and brands will have to change. Until they do that, greed will win. Greed will win. Because greed plays in all circles. It doesn't care what side of the aisle you sit on. It doesn't give a shit. Greed will win. So consumers need to drive change.
Well, you guys are doing it, Pete. Why don't you let the guys know where to go? Obviously, you've got a new fall lineup with the mock toe boot, the denim. I think you've got some new. I think I saw flannel. Maybe.
Yeah, we just wove some flannel. I know. Yeah, so this,
and then you've got the hunt line as well. So.
Yeah. I mean, if folks haven't tried Origin, like you should because it's built by freedom, and I think that's really important, especially for your listeners, Ryan, to know where your things come from. And I think what you do in the dark is important. And I know for our customers, when they step onto the street in a pair of boots or jeans or a hoodie or something, they're proud to wear it. I've heard this thousands of times. They're proud to wear that wave of freedom because they know like all the material, fiber, manufacturing, labor came from American soil, and that's important to them. And of course, we try to build things that last a lifetime. We hope you wear them out, though. We promise they'll never fail you. And that's originusa.com, where you can find, and everything on that website is dirt to shirt, field to finish, fiber fabric, made in America without compromise. Nobody else is going to say that. We are going to say that. Awesome. So, and of course, there's Jocko Fuel too, jockofuel.com for if you want to try to be better. It's a good way to start.
Yeah, well, I love the hydrate. I mean, that stuff it's good for you, but it's also delicious. Is it it's the orange flavor? I don't know exactly what it's called, but that one's my favorite.
Yeah.
You got it right there. Yep.
Island Orange.
That one's the best,
stuff.
I think.
So.
And the boots are the best out of the package. You know that I used to be a Red Wing guy.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
I'm sure it broke a little piece of your heart every time I wore those around you.
It did, but I didn't have a mock toe, so I couldn't say anything.
I know, but you do now.
We do.
So,
now I can call
you
out.
And I'm glad because I'm 100% Origin boot guy. I was probably like 70% before that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I sent a text to my team after getting my first pair of mock toes, and I said, guys, I've always liked our product, and now I love our product. Like there's a difference there. I've always liked what we were building for product, but I absolutely love this. It's the best in class. It's the fact that it's Goodyear welted and it's got that cork midsole and mock toe. It's a best in class boot. It just gives me, I get my dopamine there. It gets me real excited. Boots and jeans built America. So when everybody's like, why are you building boots and jeans? Because to rebuild America, it's going to take boots and jeans. And that's why we start with that. But good stuff, man. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, we'll sync it all up so the guys know where to go. Pete, appreciate you and what you're doing, and of course our friendship as well. We'll have to connect soon. I'm going to make it out. I tried to make it this year to Immersion Camp, but I'm gonna commit and get out to Immersion Camp because that is a great event. So I got to get out there, see you, see the team, and see everybody else.
Awesome.
Pete, appreciate it, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Ryan.